Oh, thank you very much, Mayoga, and good afternoon, sir. I guess I should adopt the existing line and say I extend my appreciation to His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Shiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, for his courage in giving us this bill. If I could sing, I will sing on your mandate. But since my voice is very bad, let me begin by, now there's a gap here, and there's a reason for it. It's actually for the Nigerian public officers who have elected to abandon ship so that this will be a conversation of irrelevance. That's why I've refused to move closer, because they need to be represented in this conversation as ongoing stakeholders. This conversation is so significant that citizens are not invited to the table. So it's a conversation among politicians, fixing for themselves their own instruments of power. That's the first thing. So when I listen to these politicians here talk about, give us examples from America and from all of that, I want us to start by acknowledging this is a uniquely Nigerian conversation. That's why there are no public officers, they've run away. So let's not fool ourselves, and I want to make five very quick clarifications along those lines. Number one, we are talking about reforming the most fundamental power of a state in election season. We're in the election season, and we're talking of reforming the most significant power of the state without debate. This morning, we've learned that there are in fact two different versions of the bill going through the National Assembly. An executive bill passed by the Senate and a different one passed by the National Assembly. No citizen has seen those bills nor participated in reviewing them, as citizens are entitled to do. If we are talking about using the police to protect citizens, and citizens are not part of it, who will the politicians be doing business with? Bandits and terrorists? Are they the interlocutors that the politicians will be doing business with? Why are they so afraid of citizens that none is invited to the table? They tell us that before the legislative proposals were considered, they had consultations with citizens. Why are there no citizens seeing the draft proposals and making inputs into them? Now, the other point is this. We are talking about governors as chief security officers of the states. And everything is being done in the framework of security. Let's remind ourselves, the police is a law enforcement institution. There's a difference in the Nigerian scheme between security and law enforcement. It's such an easy distinction to miss. Why do I say so? Under our scheme, nobody here has cited Section 315 of the Constitution. It preserves 4 different pieces of legislation. One is the National Security Agencies Act. Under Section 2 of the National Security Agencies Act, primary responsibility for internal security in Nigeria is not with the police. It is with the State Security Service. The governors are not complaining that we should decentralize state security service. They are complaining they should own the police. These are governors who have never funded their ministries of justice. Now, they will put money to give to police because police is used for rigging elections. They will not fund the ministries of justice, which are essential for putting away criminals who endanger Nigerians. And nobody here is talking about the funding of ministries of justice. Ask all of these governors who have run away how much they have spent on their ministries of justice in the past 4 years. You can count it on your fingers. But they are investing in the police, and they want us to believe that this is about how to protect the citizens. So let me make 3 other points about protecting citizens. We talk about native authority policing. That's not the issue. Historical memory matters. 25 years ago, 3 states in Nigeria pioneered what we are discussing today. 1, Zamfara State. 2, Anambra Anambra State. 3, Benue State. Benue Vigilante Services Law 2001, Anambra State Vigilante Services Law 2001, Zamfara State created HISBA. Okay? Those are the 3 states that have given us 3 different pathologies of insecurity in Nigeria. Banditry in Zamfara State, IPOB in Anambra State, Benue State, we know the problems. They have deepened the problem rather than solved it. That is why we need to care about process. We need to care about the contents. But when you raise that, the governors say what? It is detail. It doesn't matter. It is everything. There is a consensus historically on the question of policing. In 2006, the Ahmad Army Presidential Committee on Police Reform agreed what we are discussing. In 2008, the MD Yusuf Committee on Presidential Committee on Police Reform agreed we need decentralization. In 2012, the Party of Sayande Commission on Presidential Commission on Police Reform agreed it. That's not the issue. The issue is the detail. And on those details, they are running away from citizens. They don't want to hear from us. And this morning, we heard from the majority leader of the Senate. What did he do? He was talking about proposals should be. But he's the person who shepherded the bill through the Senate. What did he put inside it? So let me conclude with 2 more things. Number 1, we've heard the governor of Anambra State here tell us about how we need to address also fiscal federalism. And he makes a very valid point. He also wants us to decentralize courts. There are 27 federalisms in the world. There is only 1.5 that have state Supreme Courts. The United States model is very unique. Mexico does not have a state Supreme Court as such. Every major appellate system terminates in 1 court. The invitation to state courts is an invitation to anarchy. The idea that land issues should be finished at the state level leaves you with one question. The Constitution protects a right to property in Chapter 4. If land is not property, what is? And if you are from Zamfara State and you go and buy land in Anambra State and you will have 2 neighbors of the governor taking instructions from the governor as how to decide it, you're finished. You no longer have a country. You have Bantustans. If we want to establish Bantustans, we should call it Bantustan Republic of Nigeria. Finish. And let me finish on this note, therefore. Training and doctrine, which is what the former Chief of Defense Staff called attention to. We are going to be creating state police with no transition arrangements, with no provision for anything, and we are talking about these things don't matter. You know, these are minor issues. How do you, in a policing system that has restricted over 170 something AK-47s in the last 5 years, we are saying it does not matter who has arms, to whom it is given, because we want to give governors the power of state policing in an election season. Let's remember that. This is happening in an election season, and we are not allowed to ask the question, why should that be so? Let me yield on that score, and I hope that we can continue as citizens, even when the politicians don't want to listen, to continue to have this conversation, because at the end of the day, it is our assets online. The politicians are already well protected.